Hello, my name's Bev and I'm the author of the book Please Eat, A Mother's Struggle to Free Her Teenage Son from Anorexia, which describes our family's battle with the deadly eating disorder, anorexia nervosa, which my teenage son Ben developed back in 2009 when he was just 15 years old. This post is from the 6th of October 2011 and it's called Why I'm Not Putting All This Behind Me Yet. While some parents may wish to put the whole eating disorder experience behind them and move on, for me it's always been different. Since late 2009 I've been making notes, writing forum entries and lately this blog, all with a view to putting this information to some kind of practical use in the future. It was a school nurse who first suggested I write a book to, hopefully, inspire other parents who have realised their son is suffering from an eating disorder, to show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and also how we, as a family, dealt with all the various aspects of our son's anorexia. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been busy collating all this information into date order in a kind of narrative which will act as the basis for a book. With over 100 pages of A4 notes, it's kind of scary and difficult to know where to start. Also, the hardest part is what I call the fuzzy period. Between September and November 2009, when Ben was rapidly disappearing down the rabbit hole, when I was coming to terms with what was happening, and when Ben was going through distressing and dramatic changes on every front: weight, mood, behaviour and social interaction. Although I did make some notes at this time, mainly emails and lists, the mind has a funny habit of blanking out distressing periods like this. And although Ben's behaviour was hideous and terrifying, I found it very hard to remember it in detail. Some might say this is a good thing, evidence that it's time to move on and put all this behind me. But if I'm going to write a book, I need to come to terms with that fuzzy period, recall what took place, and try to understand it all. It's not just because of the book. I personally need to get my head around it in order to be able to move on. But for me, moving on won't be moving away from eating disorders completely. It's a bit like my friend Sue, who has cancer and who will always be actively involved in working with other women with breast cancer. As a sufferer, she has invaluable first-hand experience that clinicians and medical professionals can never have. In the same way, I, as the parent of a teenage boy with anorexia, have invaluable first-hand experience that I can bring to the table. Okay, I'm not a clinician, and the purpose of my book won't be to educate people about the science behind eating disorders. It won't be jam-packed with facts and figures or detailed information on different treatment methods and research. There are plenty of excellent books that already do that job. My book will simply tell it as it was, describing how things unfolded and how we fought tooth and nail to halt our son's decline into serious anorexia and how he eventually came through it. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to piece together that fuzzy period. I think my emotions, which were on an extreme roller coaster at the time, are the most difficult thing to recall, to be honest. And that is strange, really. That's the end of that post. It is quite funny the way the brain blanks things out and doesn't remember. It's funny because I was talking about this kind of thing with Ben last night, about the way the mind can block out things that maybe aren't helpful for it to remember. And Ben was saying how the 3 years when he was at school and had the eating disorder, he really can't remember much at all from that time. he really can't. Even big details he can't remember. And I'm assuming that's the same kind of thing, because the brain just blocks out times when you were going through horrible experiences. So yeah, it's quite interesting the fact we were discussing this last night. Anyway, thank you for listening. You'll find a link below to my blog, and you'll also find a link to my website where you can download free PDFs of my blog, and also a link to Amazon where you can buy a copy of my book.